Today we're diving into one of the most fascinating debates in ancient philosophy, the clash between two of the greatest minds in history, Plato and Aristotle. We'll focus specifically on Aristotle's critique of Plato's theory of forms. Now, Plato, as you might remember, believed that the world we perceive with our senses is just a shadow of a higher reality. He argued that there exists a realm of perfect, unchanging forms, abstract ideals like beauty, justice, or redness, and that everything we see in the material world is merely an imperfect reflection of these forms. But Aristotle had a different view. He was one of Plato's most brilliant students, but he didn't agree with this idea of separate, abstract forms. Aristotle was much more grounded in the material world, and he believed that reality isn't something abstract and separate from us. It's right here, in the physical world we interact with every day. So, how did Aristotle counter Plato's theory of forms? He did it with his concept of substance. For Aristotle, substance is the true reality. But what does he mean by substance? In simple terms, substance is the actual, individual thing, a tree, a horse, a person. It's what exists on its own and can be described by its properties like size, color, and shape. Aristotle argued that forms, what Plato considered as the ultimate reality, do not exist independently of these substances. Instead, forms are intrinsic to substances. They're the essence or nature of the thing, but they can't exist on their own. For example, the treeness of a tree is not some separate, abstract form floating in another realm. It's part of the tree itself. Without the actual tree, there's no treeness. To further explain his view, Aristotle introduced the idea of the four causes. These are four different ways to explain why a substance exists as it does. Let's break them down with an example. Let's say, a marble statue of a person. Firstly, material cause. This is what something is made of. For our statue, the material cause is the marble itself. Secondly, formal cause. This refers to the form or pattern of a thing, its shape or structure. For the statue, it's the form or shape of the person that the artist carved into the marble. Thirdly, efficient cause. This is the source of change or the thing that brings something about. In this case, it's the sculptor who carved the statue. And lastly, final cause. This is the purpose or end for which something exists. For our statue, the final cause might be to represent a person or perhaps to beautify a space. Aristotle believed that to truly understand a substance, you need to consider all four of these causes. They give you a complete picture of why something is the way it is. Now, contrast this with Plato's theory of forms. Plato would say that the true reality of the statue isn't the marble or even the shape. It's the abstract form of statue or person that exists in some higher realm. But Aristotle would respond, no, the reality is right here. It's in the marble, in the shape, in the purpose for which the statue was made. Aristotle's view is much more practical and tied to the physical world. He wasn't interested in a separate, perfect realm of forms. He was focused on understanding the world around us, the world we can see, touch, and experience. Let's wrap up with a story that might help you remember this philosophical divide. Imagine Plato and Aristotle walking through a garden. Plato points to a beautiful flower and says, the true essence of this flower exists in the realm of forms. Where there is a perfect, eternal flower, Aristotle smiles and shakes his head. No, my dear teacher, the essence of this flower is right here, in its petals, its fragrance, its purpose to bloom and reproduce. The reality of this flower is in the flower itself, not in some distant realm. In this simple exchange, you can see the core of their disagreement. Plato looked beyond the physical world for truth, while Aristotle found it in the very substance of things. So, to sum up, Aristotle's critique of Plato's theory of forms centers on his belief that substance is the true reality. Forms, according to Aristotle, are not separate entities but are intrinsic to the material world. Understanding the world, for Aristotle, means looking at the substances around us and analyzing them through his four causes. And that's the key difference between these two giants of philosophy, Plato's idealism versus Aristotle's realism. Keep this in mind as we continue exploring their ideas and how they've shaped the way we think about the world even today. Thank you for learning with us. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more insights into similar echoes.